You're listening to Back Pew Convos.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Sal. And this is the podcast God wants you to listen to.
So if you want to remain in God's will, have a sit down.
Grab a beverage of your choice.
And have a listen.
You're welcome.
So, like, if you give me a topic of, like, we're doing Jonah,
right?
Then I know, like, all right, I'm gonna study Jonah. Like, I've got these 4 chapters. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna study it. I'm gonna pick it. If you give me like an artistic topic of, like, the song lyrics, how they can sneak past your intellect and get down into your soul or whatever,
right?
I'm not even gonna study it. I don't even, my mind does, it's like I don't comprehend. Like, I understand, I know what you mean by that.
Right.
But, like, when it comes to preparing and studying, it's like I don't even know what to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that might just be something that, you're probably right. That is probably something that it might actually be better and more authentic to just, let it come.
Yeah.
Let it flow.
Well, I think, again, it's just probably just the way that my mind works. I mean,
yeah,
it's the way I've always, like, you give me, I do the same thing in work or with anything, like housework even. If you want me to,
right?
Like, if Kelly wants me to do something around the house, you can't just hint that you want me to, there's this that needs to be done and this that needs to be done and this that needs to be done. I need you to tell me, go do this.
Yeah.
And then I'll do it.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
What do you know?
Nothing.
Well, and there you have it, folks.
Hey. You know what? We got some new stuff. I know that.
Yes, we did.
We got ourselves an actual legitimate podcast mixer.
Shout out to all those sponsors out there.
Which is zero.
Zero, yeah.
Actually, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
We might call them a sponsor.
Yeah.
We got ourselves some new microphones.
That's why we sound so fantastic.
We do sound fantastic. I'm hearing it in the headphones, and it sounds great.
Silky smooth.
Silky smooth. Better than we have previously, for sure. And also, we have sound effects.
Oh, yeah. Let's get this party started.
Uh-oh. So, yeah, we're probably going to annoy you guys. I'm just going to randomly, when I feel the need, I'm just going to throw some sound effects in there.
Every episode,
it's going to be great.
Every episode, you need to pick out a random word that you're going to bleep out like it's a cuss word.
Right, like this one?
Yeah. Just pick out, before we start recording, pick out one word that every time it comes up, you're just going to bleep it.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's do that.
What's the word?
I don't know. I feel like it can't be a common one, or I'm just going to be bleeping it all the time.
Yeah, and you got to be on it.
Yeah.
Because you don't know when I'm going to throw it out. You never know.
Exactly. Maybe it should be
No, you say that way too many times.
True. All right. Well, let's get started then.
Well, you better introduce the topic, because this was your brainchild.
I thought that we were going to chit chat for 30 minutes before we got into the topic.
Well, what'd you do today?
I went down to the church. Went down to the church and moved the drums. See, last night, because we put new carpet in the church, so we had to take all the stuff out of the sanctuary. And now, today, we put everything back into the sanctuary.
Yep.
Well, that also included the drum room.
Right.
So I ended up going down there last night and taking all the drums out, and then, or putting the drums back in there from where they had been taken out. And that was a mess. It was a mess. Because there's just chords, we had the chords nice and like tied together, but I didn't have enough slack. I had to untangle all the cords and everything. It was just a big ordeal. Couldn't get them set up right the way I wanted them to be. Like, once you get all of them out of there, you're never going to get them back in there the way you had them before.
Did it make you say any cuss words? In your soul?
It made me want to.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a headache. And then the thing is, I was told last night that the drum room was ready. All the cords were ran, everything was good. So I went down there last night and set them all up. I found out this morning that was a lie.
Nice.
that the drum room was not ready, actually. There was more cords that needed to be ran, and we had to take all the stuff back out and then set it up again. And it took me forever to get it set back up.
Nice.
And it's still not, like I said, it's still not set up the way I want it.
As you may have noticed, I did not show up.
I did notice that. Every one of us. Actually, we were talking about what a scumbag you were for not showing up.
It's true. A matter of fact, actually, so today on my training, the world knows, I've mentioned it, I'm training for a 50K. Saturdays are my long run days. So I even planned my run to where I was like, YOLO, it's going to take me, I've got 15 miles today. It's going to take me about 3 hours because I run about pretty slow, 12-minute mile pace.
Yeah.
About 3 hours to run 15 miles.
Right.
So I tried to time it up to where I would be in Livermore at about 12 o'clock so that I could help.
Yeah.
And I got like 2 miles from Livermore, and it was so cold and it was so miserable out there.
Yeah.
And I just turned around and ran back home. And so that's the story. That's all there is to it. I got to Richland Baptist Church and I said, I'm done. And I turned around and I still got my 15 in.
Right.
But I wanted to go home.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the story. That's what happened. It was in the plan. It was in the cards. I was headed that way.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'd been on my way that way for a couple hours. But
right. Well, I mean, it's a thought that counts, I guess. You had good intentions.
Yeah.
And you know what? Good on you for getting out there and running when it's this cold anyway.
And the funny thing is it was bad going to Livermore.
Oh, yeah.
But when I turned around to come back to Calhoun,
was the wind right on you?
The wind.
Yeah,
it was blowing in my face, and that sucked real bad. Yeah.
You know what? I think that me and the audience should applaud you for your efforts today.
Is there a boo button because I didn't make it to Livermore to help?
Actually, there's not. We could create one, though, at some point. I feel like that's a good one.
That's literally all I've done today, though. So, I ran, and then I came home, took a shower, ate food.
Yeah.
Sit around, watch some football.
Yeah. After I left the church, the only thing that I did was set up this podcast thing and try to get it set up and have an idea of what I was going to, like, how to use it before we came down here and recorded.
Look at you being proactive. Like a real pro.
I tried.
Well, let me ask you this. What you been reading? What you been studying on? Anything? Been reading any books? Been listening to any podcasts? Anything?
I've been revisiting some of Robin Perry's appearances on podcasts talking about universal salvation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I like Robin's perspective a lot, and hadn't listened to him for a while, so I wanted to go back, and so I've been doing that. So, actually, I was listening to one with him and Father Aiden Kimmel on the way up here.
I've never heard of Father Aiden Kimmel, so I don't guess I've heard that one.
He's got a blog that you should check out. It's called Eclectic Orthodoxy. He's got a lot of good stuff on there. Okay. Chris Green wrote a review for David Bentley Hart's That All Shall Be Saved. And it's on the Eclectic Orthodoxy website. And it's really good. I really, I'm a fan of Chris Green anyway.
Right.
So
we got to mention him at least once an episode.
Yeah.
I mean, in all seriousness, people that have been that big of an influence on us probably should shout them out like once a time. I mean,
yeah, man. I mean, him, Brad Jerzyk, Brian Zahn. There's just so many people.
right. I'll tell you the one I've been reading this book. I just started it this week. It's an older book, actually, but I just now, in the book, the version I'm reading is like the 10-year anniversary edition. So he's like added notes to it or whatever. So it's that old.
Yeah.
But it's Shane Claiborne's The Irresistible Revolution.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it.
Right.
But it's also a very dangerous book for somebody like me to read.
Yeah.
In a good way, I guess. Could depend on your perspective. But the whole thing, so basically this guy, for at least from what he's somebody that I've followed on social media for years.
Right.
Never really knew that much about him other than like the stuff he posted on social media. And I was like, I liked it. So I'm following this guy, and I knew like a tiny bit about him, but I didn't know that much about him. So when I went to Second Charles, seen his book on the shelf, I was like, hey, that's a name I know. I've seen this guy in like the books. So Second Charles, for those of you who don't know, it's like a used bookstore, right? You can just, so what I do is I just go in there and I browse the shelves. I see a name, like the books are like $2.99, $3.99, $4.99, like whatever.
Right.
So I see a name I recognize in the religion section. I'm like, boom, I'll buy that book, read it. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's a couple bucks. So when I seen his name, I was like, oh, that's somebody, I recognize the name. I've been following him for a long time, but I don't know. I've never read any of his books. I'm going to buy it. So, but apparently this is a guy who went to, got saved when he was in high school, went off to college, like a quote unquote Christian college or whatever. And, in college is when he kind of had the experience with him and his buddies of like taking the words of Jesus seriously.
Right.
Particularly the words of, talking about like how to live your life in solidarity with the poor and, the least of these essentially. So like he's talking about how when they were in college, like going out and sleeping in the streets with the homeless people, because like you can't really truly empathize with somebody unless you've lived in their shoes. And then like he literally went over to Calcutta with Mother Teresa and spent a whole summer over there just helping lepers. And then when he came back, at least to the part of the book that I'm at, like him and his buddies after college, instead of like going out and finding a job or whatever, they bought a property together and started. It's called the Simple Way. Shout out to the Simple Way. You can look them up online. But it's a community, they've done a lot of good work in that community. It's up in the Philadelphia region, but they basically try to live as close to their understanding of like the early church and like the Acts that, So like they commune together. It's like a whole community, a whole neighborhood coming together. They buy abandoned properties and help to like redistribute, and come together. They pool resources and they do community meals for the whole neighborhood. And it's communal living is what it is basically. And that's something that's always kind of been on the back of my mind anyway. So like hearing these people that have actually done it.
Yeah.
That's why I said it could be dangerous for somebody like me, because I've always like kind of had those thoughts in the back of my mind, and now I'm reading somebody that's actually done it, and it's like really inspired me. Yeah. So I don't know, but
yeah, that's cool. I mean, that is something that I think about sometimes too, is like how we don't, for the most part. I mean, I think that, I guess what I'm getting at, I guess, is that for myself, a lot of times I feel like I'm giving a lot of lip service to following the Jesus way without actually putting it into practice the way that I believe that we're supposed to.
Well, and even one of the things that he talks about in that book is how easy it is for people like me and you who, are neither one of us are rich, but like we're okay, and we're in the richest country in the world. Like, it's so easy for us just to like write a check to donate to the United Way and like feel good about ourselves. Or, like when we were doing the night at St. Benedict's homeless shelter, like I did my one night a month, and like how mighty and righteous am I? You know what I mean? Like it's so easy for us to do that because we're so removed from the reality of some of the people that are living in the margins, You know what I mean?
Right.
Just even just the smallest little bit of trying to help makes us feel like we're actually doing something. And not to take away from people that are doing, because that every little bit does help.
Right.
But I think that we all know in the back of our minds there's more that we could be doing. And then like when you see somebody else that's doing it, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Like you said, we're just giving it lip service, really. I mean, not intentionally, our heart's in the right place, but there's just so much more that, and I guess with me, like in the back of my mind, that's always there. Like especially because I believe that, like, Jesus, I've said it on this podcast before, like, he didn't teach us how to die. He taught us how to live.
Right.
But, like, everything that we talk about and everything we do in church is all about, like, what happens when we die? Let's go to heaven. And you know what I mean? And it's like, no, like, he taught us a radical new, like, the kingdom of God is at hand. It's something here. We talked about it on the collab episode, right? About, like, when he came to heal the leper at the pool of Bethesda, and, like, how he didn't have to do anything. The guy, the power to be healed was already within that guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a radical new way to live. The kingdom of God is at hand.
Yeah.
And there's so much that we could be living it now, and we're just not, because we're so we are, even though the Bible and the scriptures tell us to not be conformed to the ways of the world, we are. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like when I'm reading the book, that's my main like takeaway from it, is like, I want to say, like, I'm not conformed to the ways of this world, because I'm not like shooting up heroin and doing all these other crazy things, but I am conformed in the way of the world. Like, I'm a upstanding citizen living in my, pretty good sized house and making all this money. And like, what am I doing to like actually help the community that I'm living in, So I've been brainstorming on things that I can do to try to help our community and like try to actually live it out and not just actually be about it, not just talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. And that, it is hard to know, like, what is the best way to go about that. Like, I don't know. I
actually, reading this book the other day, I cried.
Yeah. Like
literally tears streaming down my face. Right. And everybody listening to this podcast should know that doesn't happen all that often. Like that takes a real move to get me to cry like that.
Old Heart of Stone, they called you.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, at that part, like he was talking about when he was in college, there was a community of homeless, because like I said, he's in Philadelphia. It's a much larger, like we live in rural Kentucky. There's not that much. There is homeless here.
Right.
But it's not to like the extent of inner city Philadelphia, right?
Right, yeah.
And so like they had a community of homeless people that were living in Tent City, but like obviously Philadelphia in the winter gets cold.
Right.
So they had like an abandoned Catholic church that all these like this homeless community had moved into, and they were being evicted. Like the diocese, or whatever was like trying to have them convicted. And so the city was coming, and like, when they found out about this, like him and his church or his college buddies, they like created this movement of students at this college who like went down there and was just spending time in the abandoned Catholic church with these people and doing everything they could to help them. And like it created like this media frenzy, which it obviously looks bad, right? If you have this abandoned church and you're trying to kick homeless people out of it, so they have to go live out. You're talking about women and children and everything, like,
right.
It's not a good look when the media gets involved, right? So then it like prevented them from being evicted, and they helped them to get it up to like fire standard codes, because they tried to go like the city tried to go that route to have them evicted.
Right.
And it just like that part, when I was reading it, like that literally made me cry, because I was like that's real. Like that's doing something for your community. And like, what am I doing?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I like to think of myself as a pretty good dude, but I'm not doing, ultimately I'm not doing anything,
Right. Heart's in the right place. But
it's another one of those things where like, I think when I do read the story, I think about it from a perspective of, man, if I could go back and like, if I was 18, 19, 20 years old in college still without like a family and didn't have any of the stuff going on, like, I'm 37 years old with like a kid and a wife, and like I I mean, I guess I could. That's the radical part, right? Like Jesus told the young man to like sell all of your possessions and like give it to the poor. Like that's radical.
Yeah.
And like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can't just do something that crazy, right? Because I have this family, I get people depending on me.
Right.
But like it also is a radical call, and you know that in the back of my heart, in the back of my mind, I know that it is a radical call.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just I don't know, man. It's difficult. But
Yeah.
it's not supposed to be easy.
No, it's not.
So
yeah,
I guess that has nothing to do with our topic for the day, but that's the kind of stuff that's been on my mind this week. Like I've been heavy on it, really, man. It's been weighting me down. Not weighting me down in a bad way, but just been on my mind a lot, you know?
Yeah. Maybe a word for it would be conviction.
Yeah. That is probably a good word.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. Maybe I'm crazy. You can tell me if I'm crazy.
You are, but go ahead and say whatever you're going to say.
So, what do you think about a community garden?
I think that it's a good idea. Where would we do it?
Well, I don't want to necessarily put this out there on there, but I'll say it anyway. There's that lot beside the church that the church owns.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just there. It's just grass.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say it, I guess, because I don't know. That's not my land. I don't know what the plans are for it, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But I was just thinking, like, if we're not doing anything with it, we could grow a garden there and just have it be a community garden, like free. Come and, we're growing stuff here. Come and get it.
Right.
It's just feeding our community, which, again, we live in rural Kentucky to where there's not that much homeless, and there's a lot of poverty here, but like most people are being fed, and I do know that.
Yeah.
I think that's another one of the hard things with the whole poverty, helping the poor and living in the margins like situation is we're so removed from that community. You know what I mean? Like even I mean, we have a lot of poverty here. Like Kentucky is one of the poorest states, and there's not a lot of wealth here. But we also don't have a lot of homeless. We have like the people that are here, like the cost of living here is relatively low for most places in the nation, in the world. And I don't know. I mean, like I said, I know there's homeless people here, but it's just not, it's not like it is if we were in Louisville or Lexington or Nashville or some other big city. You know what I mean? So it's hard to even know what we need. Like what can I do? What can I do here?
Yeah. Probably the biggest issues that we have here are drug related issues. And
well, see, I thought about that too, but I don't know anything about drugs. Like I've never done drugs. I don't know anything about them. Like I don't know even where to start with that.
Yeah. I don't know either. I don't know. I mean, it's,
but you're right. I would say that's the number one.
Yeah. I mean, that would, we need to just do some research on that and like just see like what can we do,
right?
And then just do it.
Well, the funny thing is I had read that like portion of the book that like moved me emotionally.
Yeah,
and then I did my study for Wednesday night study, right? And like I'd messaged you and told you like it really moved me, right? Like I've really got a lot out of this, which of course I was already in a heightened sense because I just read this book. And then as I was typing that message to you, there was a message that come across on the group me that was like, hey, there's a Honduras meeting, whenever it is about, because our church does a yearly mission to Honduras or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like I messaged you and was like, I think I'm just going. Because it seemed like the timing was so coincidental that like I've been reading this book that's been moving me towards action, not just talking about it, but like actual action.
Right.
Like how can I be involved? And then I even doing my soap like moved me even, like to want to just do something. And then as I'm telling you about this, I get another message of like, well, here's your opportunity. Like, and I know it's it seems almost like I'm almost cynical about like mission trips in a way of like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
because there's, you know, like we're going away and there's so much work that needs to be done here. But at the same time, you're doing work. Like, who cares where it's at? You're doing work. And especially for somebody like me that doesn't know where to even start, that's okay. You're like, it's, you know what I mean? It's just almost like an opportunity was just like, oh, you want something to do? Well, here you go. Here's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I was like, well, I think I need to go. I don't know. Like, we haven't even had the meeting yet, so I don't know when they're going or what. I don't know any of the details. But as of right now, I feel like that's what I should do.
I told Candace last year that I think I want to go next time they go.
Well, I definitely wanted to go last year, but when the week that they went was during football camp.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I've said before, I'm an assistant football coach at the high school. And so I would be okay with missing practice or missing football camp. And then the week after football camp, the season starts. So anything in season, that's it's not just because I'm trying to be selfish, but that's taken away from my other priorities, right? With the kids that I have, that, you know, that I've committed to being there for. Yeah. However, this year, I already know about it so far in advance that I can just be like, look, this is what I need to do. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Like, you make plans, and 6 months from now, that week, I'm not going to be here. So
right. Yeah. I don't think that this is crazy off topic, because basically what we're talking about here is, you know, actually believing and following through with the things that you say. Right.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, I guess that's a roundabout way of getting back to the topic.
It was as smooth a segue as I could muster.
Yeah.
But I mean, we could just scratch the topic and keep talking about this if you want. I don't care.
No, I mean, we can hit the topic. That's just, I didn't really have anything prepared for that either. That was just kind of what was on my heart this week. You know, that's what that's where my mind's been all week. It's what I've been reading about. It's what I've been studying about. And that's what I'm thinking on. So I don't know. Like anything, if anybody has any thoughts, opinions, they can suggestions. That's the word I was looking for there. Then they can, they know how to get a hold of me. So,
yeah. Well, so the topic for today, it's going to be a little different. I don't even know how it's going to go. And I did not prepare for it very well.
If Sean didn't prepare, you know I didn't prepare.
So, it's going to be what it is.
It's going to be fantastic. That's what it's going to be.
But basically what we wanted to talk about, I've kind of been thinking about this for a while. And we're not going to get into, so basically I'll just say the thing that that the initial thought that kind of got me to think about maybe doing this as a potential topic. I think that there's something about artistic expressions that I think have a way of sneaking past our brains and speaking to our hearts in ways that like our heads wouldn't allow for. You know what I mean? And I think that's true of like pretty much any artistic expression. Like for example, I think that's part of the reason that Jesus spoke in parables as much as he did. I think that there's something about presenting truth in story.
Right.
I think that is able to sink down deep into our hearts, and in a way that maybe you're like, if he just said outright what he was trying to get at, then like maybe it would not get past our theological brains
right
long enough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think about it from like a perspective of like a picture. Like black and white photos are beautiful in their own way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like if you have a world of black and white and you want something to stand out, you paint it a bright color.
Right.
Right. So like telling, and going back to your example of like Jesus speaking in parables or like artistic expression, the way that I try to think about it at least is like splashing color in a world of black and white, right? Like that's adding a
Yeah.
little color to it. So
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to start doing some parables at some point and talk about the parables themselves. But for this episode, what I really wanted to focus on, because I'm a musician, it seemed more natural to me to talk about this topic, but specifically as it, relates to music.
right.
So, some of the songs that we sing at church, it's like popular worship songs.
Right.
If you look at the lyrics and you think about what they say, I wonder if we really believe it.
Right.
Like there's a lot of songs that, and I mean, there's no point in like skirting around it. Like we've already told everyone where we stand as far as like where we believe in ultimate redemption. We believe that everyone will eventually be saved.
Every time that you say ultimate redemption, I need you to hit that. There we go.
Yeah. So, I mean, because we believe in ultimate redemption, I think we said in the hell episodes how that like it really does kind of it changes things. Like it for me, like with this perspective, when I started paying attention to the words of the song we were singing, I'm like, man, like a lot of these have pretty universal implications if if people are paying attention to it.
Well, I think the same thing about the Bible, really. I mean, like if you're, but I do think to your point, like the songs drive that message home.
Yeah.
In a way that would be different. But I think if you're just paying attention, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And
we did this past week in Sunday school, we had our worship team Sunday school class, and we we took scripture and we took lyrics to songs, and we tried to see where we could find scriptural basis for them, you know. And so I was excited about that because it meant that people in the group were going to actually read instead of just like hear it and sing along, without thinking about it. They were going to have to actually read the lyrics to songs, and think about the implications of it and where it is it in scripture.
Yeah, Kelly said you did every single line on the song.
I didn't get to say it all, but I did. My notes were really long.
Yeah.
Because I did the song So Will I, which is my favorite of all time. I cannot hear that song and not be a blubbering mess by the time it's over.
This is gonna hurt your feelings. I don't care that much for that one.
Well, you're wrong.
It could be, for sure.
I really wish there was a boo button on this sound pad here. I would definitely do it.
You need to rectify that before next week.
For sure. What is this? Oh, this is a drum beat. So I'm going to do, for the time being, I'm going to push the drum beat when I don't appreciate whatever you're saying. Anyway, yeah, man, that song, I love that song so much, actually. But I went through and I made like 26 scripture references. Like, just went through the lyrics and made reference to scriptures that I thought were that the lyrics are pointing to specific scriptures. I made note of that, and there was like 26 different scriptures in that one. And it's good. It's just really good. The song, the lyrics are really good.
Yeah.
Here it is.
No, the lyrics are fine. It's just not one of those that moves me that much, but like I appreciate it. It's good. It's fine. I don't hate it.
Well, all right. Do we want to start with one of your songs then? Because I guess what we're gonna do, just so everyone knows, we're gonna read the lyrics to some songs. We're gonna talk about the implications of it, and we're kind of just gonna. I think we're gonna end up talking about how we're You're making that face at me.
Because we don't know what we're doing. We
don't
already
know.
said that.
But I think what we're going to end up doing is just basically talking about some songs, talking about the lyrics, and talking about how we, we're going to talk about some that the lyrics irk us a little bit, and we're not sure what to make of it. We aren't sure that we like it.
Right.
And we're going to talk about some that we do like the lyrics of and why we like them, and, things like that.
Well, so if I'm going to start.
Yep, do it.
I feel like this is the easiest example for me.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the song Make Room.
Right.
And if anybody listening to this has paid attention at all to any of our previous episodes, or they know me in person, they know that I'm not a musician. I don't know anything about the music. I don't know who sings the songs, and I hardly know the words if they're not up on the board for me to look at.
Right. Well, you were bragging a lot on the Take Root collab that you were first chair.
Well, you know what? That's the one brag I do have. That was also, as we all pointed out, that was the last time I played drums, and that was middle school. I'm now a graybeard, old man. So, and anybody can keep a beat. I mean, you don't have to have any kind of musical abilities.
I wouldn't say anybody. I've seen some folks that cannot clap on beat even.
No, but the only reason why I say that is because I don't know who sings the song. I have no idea. So when I say the name of the song, that's just how I know it. You're probably going to have to fill in the blanks on who sings it to let the audience know, because I have no idea.
I actually cannot remember who sings that one. The song is called Make Room, though. That's the title of the song. Like, if anyone were to look it up, it's called Make Room.
Yeah, when I looked up the lyrics here on this website, it's just listed under community music, and I don't know if that's the band name or like what.
I think it actually is the name of the
if that is their
worship team.
If that's their band name, they need a new one. Because it just sounds like I looked at this website and they're like, this is just songs, community music.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the reason why I picked this song is specifically for the bridge.
Okay.
Which says, shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion, your way is better.
Your way is better.
Just specifically those lines is the only reason why I picked this. And the reason why I did that is because I'm just going to say the dirty word. Get the bleep button ready.
Okay.
Deconstruction.
I didn't hit it quick enough.
Oh, you got to practice on that. No, deconstruction, right? That's a dirty word. Like people, I mean, I've heard like people say like they just don't understand deconstruction. Like within the context of church, they don't know how it could be a good thing. How can deconstruction be a positive thing? Is it biblical? Like, on and on. And like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking we literally sing about it in church. Like we sing this song. Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. That is the most artistically perfect description of deconstruction I have ever read anywhere by anybody. That is what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, to the point of, like, the topic today, how do the words that we sing, do we comprehend what we're singing? Like, I think this particular bridge goes over so many people's heads because, like, are you even listening to what we say? And specifically, like, I don't know other churches, but like ours is, as we've indicated, it's a non-denominational, leans Pentecostal. Like it's more of a, I don't even know, charismatic, I guess. I don't like the word, but we'll use that. Like,
yeah,
there are expressions of spirit, like people clap, occasionally dance, jump, shout, like whatever word you want to put in there.
Right.
Like when we get to this part of the song, people respond of like they feel it, like I feel something in this portion of the song that's moving, the spirit is moving within me, and then I'm back there just like, are you but
yeah.
But I'm the bad guy. No. Like do you hear what we're saying? Just think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that that is a really good example of what we're talking about here is like, because if you present deconstruction as a theological concept, people will shut it down.
Right.
Some people will be like, oh no, that's terrible. But when it's presented in song form, there's something inside of you that moves and knows that there is something right about it.
And I think, like, to the point of deconstruction, like, I believe that we've said this before, but I think a lot of it just comes down to people just don't know what it means. And either they just haven't taken the time to look into it to truly understand, or they're getting their information from jaded sources who are intentionally leading them in a wrong direction.
Yeah.
Maybe not because of bad intentions.
No, I would assume with good intentions.
Right. But the reason why I say that is because at least obviously we're not authorities on the subject, but like our comprehension and the way that we use the word deconstruction, to put it bluntly, is just throwing away all the junk.
Right.
You're not leveling the construction of everything. You're not leveling your faith and becoming an atheist and throwing it all away. You're just throwing away the junk. And that is literally what this song is saying.
Yeah.
Take all the junk away and just show me your way. Yeah. I don't care about the structure of this religion. I don't care about these man-made rules, these holiness codes, this, that, whatever. Like, your way is better. That is what deconstruction is at its purest form.
Yep. Tear down everything that isn't you.
Exactly.
Because your way is better. So, if you mean that, you're asking for deconstruction. Because if there are things that you hold to that aren't his way, then obviously those would fall in the category of the things that are being torn down and shaken up. Right.
And I picked this song not just because it is a perfect example of what we're trying to show with this topic, but also because this one moves me.
Yeah.
Like when we get to this part of this song, I feel it within me because I can relate so deeply to this.
Yeah.
Like this is when I sing out these words, I've sing them from a place of experience.
Right.
Like I have been to that point to where I said, okay, Take all this junk away. Like, I don't want nothing else.
Right.
Your way is better.
Just you.
Even though it might suck.
Yeah.
Like, even though it might be lonely at times.
Yeah.
This is the road that I've chosen, So, like, when I sing those songs, it does stir something up. When I sing those words, it does stir something up within me because they're not just hollow words that I'm saying, but they come from a place within me that is experienced to that.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, our church has been through and is currently going through a lot of change.
Yeah. Yep.
Our church has deconstructed.
Yes. People might not want to hear that, but it's true.
Right. You may not even recognize it or think about it, but man, we have. Like, considering where we were years ago,
right,
and to where we are now, the church has put away certain things that weren't his way. There are certain things that were shaken up and tore down, things that didn't belong.
Yeah.
That were done away with.
And I think everybody that goes there now, I don't want to say everybody, but I think, the majority of the people that have went through that transition would argue it's for the better.
Yeah.
We choose his way.
Right.
Yeah.
And man, there's a lot of songs that we sing that go right along with that theme. Like Oceans is another one I think that kind of goes into that vein of deconstruction.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's actually another one that I had listed down on my list was Oceans. Number one, because I absolutely love that song.
Yeah.
And number two, just again, because of the lyrics. I mean, they speak to me from not just hollow words, but like I've lived the experience. So when I sing that song, it's coming from a place of that I resonate with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, did you want to go to that one and talk about it for a minute?
Well, we can.
To Oceans. Do you have the lyrics pulled up to it?
I'm going to pull it up right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, so you call me out upon the waters, the great unknown where feet may fail, and there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep my faith will stand. And I call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters, your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed and you won't start now. Yeah, I mean, when I sing this song and when I read the lyrics, even just don't even hear the music behind it, like just reading the lyrics, they like, I feel something stir up within me just because, again, from that personal experience, like for me, that's how it felt going through the deconstruction experience, especially when I did it.
Yeah.
It felt like I was by myself, but it didn't feel like I was. It felt like I had I was being called out to a deeper place.
Right.
Because as when I went through my story, I kind of indicated that I wasn't just trying to, I didn't intend to deconstruct. I didn't do any of this on purpose. It was my study of the Bible and my digging into the theology and this, my study that took me to this place to where I couldn't ignore it. And it almost just felt like this call of like, I could feel like
a draw.
Yeah. Like a draw of like, just come out a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Come out a little bit deeper. Now come out a little bit more.
Right.
And now a little bit more. And before you know it,
your feet failed.
My feet will fail. Right. Like,
right.
And that's how it felt at times. And at times it does feel like you're drowning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
and there I find you in the mystery. I think that, man, there's so many good things in that song.
Yeah.
To you finding him in the mystery, being willing, because I think that I can't remember. There was a quote from someone, I can't remember who it was. It was someone in church history anyway, but they were basically and I don't even remember the exact quote, but I'm paraphrasing. The vibe of the quote was this, that it's exactly what that line says. It's that you begin to know God by coming to the realization that God is unknowable almost. Like it's embracing the mystery. Once you embrace the mystery, then you can actually begin to know God. And maybe that's crazy. I don't know if that's making any sense or not, but
no, it does make sense. I just don't know. I don't have a response to it. It's one of those things that's like,
yeah, because I think that, and that was my experience. I think was like, making peace with the fact that there are some things that I will never understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because that's where faith, that's the point, right?
Well, that's the funny thing is that's the next line, right? So it says, and there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep, my faith will stand, right? Yeah. So if there's no mystery, why do you need faith?
Exactly.
If you know everything, if you're certain, if you have all the answers, there's no need for faith because you have certainty.
Yep.
So it's only in the mystery that you need faith.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which again is another thing to where you're like, are we understanding the words that we're singing, right? Because so much of modern Christianity is wrapped up in this. We have to have the perfect right theology, right? Yeah. Our certain church or our certain denomination has all these perfect right answers, and all these other ones are just slightly off. Some of them are slightly off, some of them are way off, but we've got all the right answers. And it's like, no, I think there's a mystery about this that we all know. Like in the back of our minds, we all know that trying to know the unknowable is impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
So
like that's another perfect example of are you hearing the words that we're singing when we sing this song?
Yeah. So what's the is there any more lines in there we want to talk about?
Let's see. So I will call upon your name, keep my eyes above the waves when oceans rise. My soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Which those are all good lines, but they're also just, to me, when I sing them, they're hopeful. Like, this is the goal. I know that, like, it's from experience. I know there's going to be times to where I don't call upon your name to keep my eyes above the waves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I fail from time to time.
Yeah. I did want to, something that struck me as you were reading those lines, the part where it says, my soul will rest in your embrace.
Yeah.
It reminded me of, because we're already in this, the mind frame of deconstruction, like that experience that I had at work where I felt like an embrace,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know. It just brought that back to him.
Well, it is kind of a
remembrance.
I think that this song encapsulates that whole deconstruction experience so well, though, because it talks about that call out into the deep, but then even the soul rests in your embrace. Like there is a part, at least for me, there was a part of going through a deconstruction experience to where you, at first, you feel the need to justify everything.
Yeah.
To everybody, right? Like, because you'll get a lot of accusations. People, will try to throw the Bible at you. They'll throw as many Bible verses at you as they can find just to try to make something stick. So like there's this natural like inclination is to try to justify yourself.
Right.
And there becomes a point, at least for me, there became a point in my deconstruction experience to where I didn't care about that anymore. I don't care if you don't understand me. My soul is at rest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that to me, that's what that line speaks to me is like, I don't need anybody else's justification.
Right.
I don't need to prove myself to anybody else. Like my soul is at rest in his embrace.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I think all the rest of the whole song is good. We could go line by line by line, but I think that for me, the whole reason why I picked out the song is because of the deconstruction thing and the vibe, like calling me out upon the waters. And I think the whole song goes through that experience. So,
yeah. I think that there's one that I want to go to that I actually didn't plan on.
I love it.
But
I love ad-libbing. Let's do this.
But it's sort of in this, I think not sort of, it definitely fits in this vein of deconstruction.
Yeah.
It's the song Pioneer.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I did, I like Rick Pino's version of it. He's not the original, but I like his version of it the best.
Rick Pitino?
Not Pitino. So let me read some of the lyrics here. It says, the verse says, uncharted wilderness stretches before you, and you thrive on going where no one has gone. Still it gets lonely when darkness rears. Sing by the fire until the dawn. So, and that's how it feels a lot of times. Whenever you start that process of deconstruction, it feels like you're headed out into uncharted territory. Like you don't, at least for me, like I didn't feel like I had a guide through it. It was literally just heading out into like the frontier, right? Like, I have no idea where I'm going or what's going to happen or what I'm doing. But I know that I can't ignore this draw, like you said.
Yeah.
I've said it before. I don't think I could have not deconstructed.
Which is so, like, just hearing you say that is so, I don't even want to use the word funny, but it is, because, like, that is the story of the Bible. Like, that is the Exodus, right? The children of Israel are called out of bondage. They are in bondage.
Right.
And they are called out of bondage and are led into the wilderness where they wander for 40 years. They don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're doing. The only thing they know is they're following God.
Yeah.
They're following the cloud and the pillar, in the sky.
Yeah.
That's the only thing they have to go off of. Everything else, they have no idea what they're doing. And that's pretty obvious if you read the story, because they screw it up time after time after time after time. They don't know what they're doing. Like, that is the whole story of the Exodus that you just described it. You're like, ain't that crazy? Like, that's your personal experience and it lines up. And I'm like second to that experience, because that's the same thing I went through. Like, that's my experience too. I've even used that exact analogy of how it felt it felt at times like being the one person out in the wilderness all by yourself, just wandering around like you're lost and have no, like, just waiting for somebody else. Like,
right.
Come join me out here,
Yeah. And it's, that one thing that I wish that we had mentioned in the Jonah episode, that I think I'm glad you mentioned that about the 40 40 years in the wilderness, because we made mention of how the message to Nineveh was 40 days and you'll be destroyed, and how that number 40 has to have some sort of significance.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about that, and I went and looked it up a little bit, and it's tied to testing and trials. Jesus was tempted for 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, right?
The flood.
The flood, yeah. So it also has like a connotation of judgment. But what do we think judgment is? We think that the judgment is trial by fire, right? It's that it is a purification, a purging. It's a burning away anything in you that's not like him.
Right.
And man, is that not like a fantastic example of deconstruction?
Yeah.
Man. But anyway, at least if it's done well, because I don't want to pretend like there aren't people out there that haven't deconstructed well. But anyway, we can move on. So there's another verse that says, "You travel light and you travel alone. And when you arrive, nobody knows. But your Father in heaven, he is glad you can go, because those who come after you will need the road." And man, that one hits me hard too, because like, I don't know, people that go to church with us, they might remember that I chose this song when I preached for the first time, when I kind of gave my testimony.
Yeah. I
chose this song for this reason, because it so encapsulates my process, that process of deconstruction. And also, like, man, the goal of this podcast, right, is to prepare a way.
Yeah.
For those who come after you. Because the line here, it says, "Because those who come after you will need the road."
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, that was our vision, right? Like, that was we had that experience of being alone in the wilderness, and we didn't want anybody else to feel like they were alone.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
but we charted a path that we feel like brought us to a better place, and there will be more people coming, and we can help guide them. We've made a path
right
for them,
Not that we got it all figured out.
No,
please don't misunderstand that.
Yeah. No, there's still a lot we don't have figured out, but I do think that
pretty much most of it.
Yeah. But I do think that it was like, we definitely have come to a place where I think we could be helpful to people who have not been through that yet.
Yeah, right, for sure. It's like running a trail race or something. Like, if you've run it 5 times, it doesn't mean that you're not going to take a wrong step and turn your ankle.
Yeah.
But it also, like, you do have an advantage because you've already experienced it. You know where the tricky parts are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I'll read the lyrics to the chorus, and then we can move on from this song.
I will allow it.
Pioneer, keep pressing onwards beyond your fears. Only your Father goes before you to your own frontier. You're a pioneer. So again, keep pressing onward beyond your fear, because fear can keep you from deconstructing.
Yeah.
It did me for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But keep pressing forward, because your Father is there with you. And in fact, he's going before you. And, so that's, I just wanted to bring that one up because I think it's a really good example of, deconstruction in song.
I do think also it goes perfectly with Oceans. To me, listening to the words, they are about the same thing. But funny enough, I'm sure like when or whoever wrote Pioneer, you said Rick Pino didn't originally do it, but when they probably had something totally different in mind than whoever wrote the other song. But
yeah, I'm sure
I get the same thing from them.
Yeah.
Which is another cool thing about art, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, so a lot of it is subjective. Um. So, is there another song that you want to talk about, or is there any others that have to do with deconstruction that we want to talk about?
I don't have any on my list or any that I can think of off the top of my head that have to deal with deconstruction.
Okay.
The next one I had down is actually kind of changing subjects a little bit, but I
Okay.
think it's a really good one, is Reckless Love.
Yeah.
And
I love that
the part of this song the reason why I chose it is for the chorus, right? So it says, "Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. It chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God."
Yeah.
And so I just remember, like, again, I'm not a music guy. So, like, the words, I don't know. Maybe this is the perfect time to, like, talk about how I'm over-analytical.
Right.
So part of my issues with worship service in general are that I overanalyze. It's hard for me to just feel because I'm too busy. My brain is too busy analyzing all the words I'm reading. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like in this, I remember a specific time hearing this song at church. And like my brain was going through line by line of everything because I hadn't heard the song before. I don't listen to this music on a regular basis. To be honest, I don't listen to any music on a regular basis.
Right.
I listen to podcasts or I don't listen to anything, like for the most part. But so I'd never heard the song before I heard it in church. So, and then when we got to the chorus, so the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Like I was going through these words and I was thinking, this was actually the first song where I thought about our topic that we're talking about today when it kind of clicked with me of like, do you understand the words that you're singing?
Yeah.
Because like the words, overwhelming, what does it mean if something is overwhelming? It means you literally cannot stand against it.
Yeah.
It will consume you and there's nothing that you can do to resist it. That's what it means to be overwhelming.
It will overwhelm you.
Right? Like if a wave in the ocean is overwhelming, there's nothing you can do. It's going to engulf you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's overwhelming. Never ending is pretty self-explanatory. That means there is no end. You cannot find an end.
Yep.
It will stretch on further than you can see. It will never end.
Yep.
Reckless. For something to be reckless, that means to act without any regard for the consequences.
Or maybe even more specific, without care for your own safety.
Yes.
Which is exactly what Jesus did, right?
And those are all the words in this song that we're using to describe the love of God.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming, so there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's never ending, so it will never end. And it's reckless. So no matter what the consequences are, no matter what, like that's what we're saying about God's love here. Do you believe that? Do you really believe that?
Yeah.
It chases me down. So there's no, like, that takes me back to the Psalm, right? I don't remember the number, but there's nowhere you can go. If I go down to Sheol, he's there. If I go up to the highest mountain, he's there. If it's east, west, doesn't matter. Like, he's going to chase you down. There's nowhere you can go. Fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. Everybody knows that story that Jesus talks about, right?
Yeah.
Leaves the 99 because, and what's the key word in that? Leaves the 99
until
the one is found.
Yeah.
Right? I couldn't earn it and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. And I mean, that's one of those where I don't like the negative connotations and the I don't deserve it, even though I think it's true technically. Like I didn't do anything to earn. I mean, I do think that just being a good father is loving your children, but at the same time, like I haven't earned it. That's the way that I interpret those words, right?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because that's the only line in the song that I am like, yes, but,
Right.
Because, like, I think that we deserve it in this, like, because you already use the same analogy. We deserve it in the way that a child deserves care and protection and love and mercy and all good things from a good father.
Right.
I mean,
but I think that's like a trigger word for us
Yeah.
because of that. Because at least the way that I try to understand it now is I read it in the line of I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, which I don't think it's saying like you're not a child of God or whatever. Like he loves you even though you're a worthless piece of trash. But it's like I hear it in this context of I haven't earned it. Like I don't earn nothing that I can do makes me righteous.
Right.
There is no standard that I can uphold that earns me love.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So that's the way. But I know what you're saying because I feel the same way about it. But I think it's one of those things like we hear it and it's like a trigger word. Like it just bristles us up, even if it's in a different context.
Yeah, and that's I think because there's another song. There's a couple things that I think we want to bring up. Mm-hmm. Other songs that have like that sort of, and I think most of them it is that sort of thing. Yep. It's like it really just depends on how you conceptualize it, and there are certain things that just given where we've been that are triggering still.
I think it goes right back to what I said a while ago about like art in general is kind of subjective to the listener or the viewer or whatever, whatever the
right. Depends on how you
because
view it.
Potentially the guy who wrote this or the lady that wrote this song did have like some kind of weird worm theology in mind, but that's not how the song still moves me because I interpret that a different way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be taken in that context.
Right. But then after that, it repeats the beginning. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. So that's said twice in the chorus because we want to make sure you understand.
Yeah.
This is the love of God. It's overwhelming, it's never-ending, and it's reckless.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, that's the perfect one. And then it goes right along with the other song that I had written down. So to be honest with you, I actually don't know if this is in the song because I've never heard the song outside of our church.
Are you moving to a different song?
Well, I'm tying two songs together here.
Okay, because I had more to say about Reckless Love. That's why I was asking.
Okay, well,
you can go ahead.
The only thing I was going to say is because when we do it in church, we add a bridge which says your love is relentless.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was going to tie those two songs together. So if you're not ready to move on, let's go ahead and go your route.
Oh, well, obviously this song is referring to Luke 15. Right. Which we've already discussed. It's he leaves the 99 and search for the one until he finds it. But there is another line in the song that, kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Okay.
A little bit. And it's that same thing. I'm not trying to be nitpicky because it really does just depend on how you conceptualize it. But it's the line that says, "When I was your foe, still your love fought for me."
That's verse 2. Okay.
Yeah.
I see it.
Which, and for me, because what it brings to my mind the sort of like separation theology thing. It's like, we were like God, because there are some people that would say that God views us as his enemy.
Right.
Until we say the sinner's prayer or whatever.
Right.
But I can't remember. I didn't look up. I didn't even think we were going to go here, I guess. But so I didn't have the scripture reference, but it's in one of Paul's letters. He says that we were enemies in our mind, like alienated in our minds.
Alienated, yep. I want to say it's Ephesians, but I don't know.
Yeah. But that's like
New Testament for sure.
Yeah. But like again, it's just one of those things where it depends on how you conceptualize it, because I view that as like we're always the ones that turn away from him.
Yeah.
He never turns. There's no shadow of turning in him, as Scripture tells us.
Well, that's the funny thing about this verse is because when I picked the song for the chorus, I don't even know the verses to the song. That's how silly I am. But when I was reading the verses here, I come across the one that you're talking about, which is verse 2. So the first part of it is the what you said. So it says, "When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so kind to me." So like, it's weird because that first line does say, "When I was your foe, you've been so good to me," but then it turns around in that same verse and says, "When I felt no worth."
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that you didn't have a worth. It's not that
Yeah.
this whole worm theology thing of to where you're just this piece of garbage, you know, it's that
not actual.
It's your perception of yourself. It's when I felt like I was your foe, when I felt like I was God's foe, when I felt like I was you know, I was worthless, you were still good to me.
Yeah. It's a perception thing.
Yeah. And I don't know what the original songwriter had in mind, but it's just weird how those two contrast in the same verse, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that reminds me of like a lot of the, like some of the stuff in the Old Testament. It's like, I could see where people back then would have believed that God was doing certain things. Like their conception of God was that he was responsible for bringing certain things upon them,
right,
as like punishment or whatever. But that was their experience. But that doesn't mean it was a reality.
Exactly.
You know, like just like that song is saying that, like, it's when I was your foe, still he fought for me. You've been so kind to me. When I felt no worth, like you said, when I felt no worth, it doesn't mean that you're worthless, but that there are moments in your life when you can feel abandoned, you can feel worthless, and you can think God is bringing this judgment and God's bringing wrath on me, and why is he doing this to me?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that that's actual.
Right.
Even if that's your experience.
And then think about the line, "When I was your foe." Think about how many times you've heard somebody say, like, in just passing conversation, "Oh, you should come to church with me," and they like laugh it off, like, "Oh yeah, as soon as I step in the door, the lightning will strike the church," or something. You know,
Yeah.
Like, you're not really God's foe, but you feel like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you think like, I'm so far lost.
Yeah.
Which that is actually, because now I've got to go into the bridge of the song because I kept reading, and that was a big mistake, right? Because even when you feel like you're so far away, and you feel like you're a foe, and you feel like you're worthless, right? The bridge of this song says, "There's no shadow you won't light up.
Yeah.
Mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down.
Absolutely.
Lie you won't tear down, coming after me."
You bet your bippy.
So you might feel like you're a foe. You might feel like you have no worth. You might feel like you're an enemy, but there's no lie that he won't tear down. Hey,
Absolutely.
that one.
That one deserves a round of applause.
Yes.
Yeah. For some reason, I forgot about the bridge. Man, it's so good.
I actually did too, because I was so caught up in the chorus, because I love the chorus of this one, but I totally forgot about the bridge. But the way that the bridge comes in after that verse that you just like talked about, it flows together so good, because we're talking now about like how you see yourself as a foe and you feel like you don't have no worth. And then the bridge comes in of like, no, there's no lie he won't tear down, because all that is a lie. All that is a shadow, right? There's no shadow we won't light up, because we see a shadow. We see through a glass darkly.
Yeah.
But no, not anymore. Not anymore. Like,
God is light.
Yeah. And in him there is no darkness at all.
And he's coming for you. So there is no darkness he won't light up. No shadow he won't light up. Coming after you. There's no wall he won't kick down or lie he won't tear down. Man, that is like, because, you know, we believe in universal salvation, and I think that this song, obviously the implications of the song leads you to universal salvation.
Yeah.
When I know that there's two, for sure. I'm not outing anyone, but there's at least two people at the church, me and you, that hold to this belief, but every one of us sing it with all of our hearts, eyes closed, hands raised, you know.
Well, that's actually, so I'll give a little bit of context here without giving anything away, or as you put it, outing anybody. But we had a text message going the other day, a little group.
Yeah.
We were kind of joking in conversation about, hey, so and so, said this. No, we weren't gossiping about people. All right, they were involved in the conversation.
Yeah,
like jokingly, this person is closeted universalist. And then I said it jokingly, but I meant it seriously too. I think that we're all a little bit, just some of us have to dig a little further to find it, I say that because we sing these songs, we say these words, and we all mean it, and we all feel and know that it's true in our being. Even if we're afraid to say it, or we're afraid to admit it. When you put a label on it and say universalist or universal reconciliation or universal salvation or whatever, you might be afraid to admit it, but when you sing the words of this song, something within you knows it feels right. And if you think all the way through it, there's only one place it leads.
Exactly. That was the whole concept of this episode, right? There are things that your theological brain would shut it down if you thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's in artistic expressions like this, when it comes in the form of song, it can penetrate deep down into those places in you that it wouldn't be able to reach if it wouldn't get past your head.
Right.
To get there. Yeah. Because, I believe that God is love. I believe that God is the truth, is beauty, and I just don't think that anyone could ever actually, because the whole conception of free will, right, like that you can reject God, I don't think anyone can if they truly know what they're rejecting.
Right. Well, I mean, even again, going back to, do you understand what you're singing? Like if we're singing, your love is relentless, or if his love is overwhelming, if his love will never end, then even if you have free will, the only way that it doesn't end in a universal reconciliation is if you're saying that my will is stronger than God's will. Yeah. My stubbornness and my refusal to accept his love will last longer than his love. Yeah. And I think that we all know that's not true, and we sing it in this song knowing it's not true.
Yeah. Well,
but that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, and the only reason that you would ever, if that were even possible, which we don't think it is, even if it were possible, if you're choosing, like, for example, if someone were to stick their hand in a fire, they have zero reason, right? They have zero good reason to put themselves in that position, right?
Right.
They have every reason not to. So if someone was just like, you know what, I think I'm going to stick my hand in this fire, we would think that there's something wrong with them.
Right.
There's something is not right.
Yeah.
And mentally.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's something wrong.
We would try to get them help.
Yeah, you would try to get them help. So to say that you could choose this, it's the only way you would ever choose this is if you believed a lie about who God is.
Right.
Yep. But there's no lie he won't tear down.
Mm-hmm. What you got for me? Hey, look at there. My gosh, we are back live and in color. Can you hear me talking? Hallelujah.
Yep, it sounds like you're clipping, actually, so you may want to...
Hey. I was yelling into the mic. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing. I get fired up sometimes, I feel it I just get fired up.
It's like fire shut up in your bones.
Hallelujah.
Hey.
Hey.
That was loud. You know what? I'm going to try to edit this together, but our brand spanking new mixer just decided to freeze up on us
And you know what? I don't
in the
blame
middle
it.
of recording.
I don't blame it, because what we were doing right there was
Mhm.
bringing so much heat. So much.
So much.
It overloaded the mixer. A brand new mixer, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much it couldn't even handle it. It
Couldn't
shut
handle it.
down.
Didn't know what to do with it. I wish you could hear because you don't have your headphones on and I do, so I'm hearing me.
I have no idea. I just see you hitting buttons, and then I have to leave it up to my imagination as to what's going on.
All right. Okay, so we're still registering on the recording right now. There are still lines happening. Things are happening. We're moving, and we're back.
Action.
On topic. All right. So we were talking about. So I mean, you were moving on to "You Won't Relent."
Won't relent.
We were tying that into.
Yeah, because at our church, again,
Yeah.
because I don't know if this is in the original song or not, but at our church we add the bridge to the song "Reckless Love" that says "Your love is relentless," and so naturally I transitioned that into the song "You Won't Relent," which is a Jesus culture song.
Naturally.
Because that's what I do. So really, I don't have a whole lot on "You Won't Relent." I just tied it in with that one thing, but I did want to talk about the word "relent," right? Because the main, I mean, it's in the title of the song, right?
Yeah.
But it's "You Won't Relent." The word "relent," that just means that it will not cease until it achieves whatever it is that it's after.
Right.
Which ties right in with overwhelming, never-ending,
Mm-hmm.
and reckless, right? It's also relentless, which means it will not stop in its pursuit. There's no mountain it won't climb up. There's no shadow it won't light up, you know?
No wall it won't kick down.
Exactly.
Wall it won't tear down.
So it's the only reason why I brought this song up, essentially, is it just highlights that point that we were making in that other song. But to the same point, if we're really understanding the words that we're saying, what does that lead you? What road does that lead you down? If his love won't relent, you won't relent until you have it all.
Yep.
My heart is yours. That means it won't relent until your entire heart, your only desire, is after God.
Yeah. Yeah. That one's good stuff. You've went and read the scriptures that's coming from, right?
Yeah, Song of Solomon.
Yeah.
Or Song of Songs, depending on which
Right.
translation you're reading.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, come be the fire inside of me. Come be the flame upon my heart.
Right.
Come be the fire inside of me until you and I are one.
Yeah.
Man, like
Mhm.
that.
It's good stuff.
But that, again, going back to, I relate that back to trial by fire that we talked about.
Refiner's fire.
Right? Like, until you and I are one, like, burn all that away from me.
Yep.
Until you and I are one.
Until I'm a mirror image of you.
I mean, really, if you think about what we're talking about tonight, do you understand what you're saying there? Like, that one's heavy.
Yeah, it is.
That one's not just a let's get up and shout and hallelujah. Like, that one is.
Yeah.
That one's heavy.
Yeah, it is.
You're asking for the fire.
Right.
To burn away everything in you that is preventing you from being totally and fully God's.
Yeah.
That's not always a pleasant thing.
No, it's not. It can be a scary thing to ask for.
But it goes right along. It's so funny how all these songs tie together. Because to me, that just goes right back to, because we came to this song tying it in with Reckless Love, but then what we were just talking about there ties it back to where we started with Oceans and Pioneer that call me out upon the waters.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not. The ocean is scary. Listen, for whatever reason, on my TikTok, I've started getting these videos in the algorithm of the North Sea. Let me tell you something. That's a scary place, all right? Is there any place in the world that is as scary as the ocean?
No.
Call me out upon the waters. I don't know about that, bro. That's scary. The same thing with come be the flame upon my heart until you and I are one.
Yeah.
That's scary.
And I think that it is even more scary if you don't know God.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think that really we shouldn't be afraid
Right.
because we know who he is. We know who God is. We know that he is, as Jonah put it, a gracious God, merciful, slow to anger, abundant in steadfast love, and ready to relent from punishing. We know that God is good, and who better to entrust judgment with
Right.
than, who better to submit to that refiner's fire? Who would be better to not be afraid and put your trust in
Exactly.
other than the God revealed to us in Jesus?
Yeah, I think, man, not to get too theological with it, but like, man, you could relate that right all the way back to the very beginning of Genesis, right? Man has always wanted to be in control
Yeah.
from the very beginning.
Right.
That's why it's so scary to us, because we're not in control. But the funny thing is, we've never been in control, but we have this conception that we are in control. So then when you give up control,
Yeah.
oh, that's scary, right? Like, it's scary to not be in control, even if the one who is in control is the one that should be, and the one that is the only one that can be trusted to be in control. The fact that it's not me in control is scary.
Yeah. And that reminds me of Jesus in the garden whenever he on behalf of, because I believe it's Maximus the Confessor that talks about whenever Jesus is in the garden and he prays that prayer, he says, not my will, but your will be done. He's doing that on behalf of all humanity. He's submitting his will to the will of the Father on behalf of all humanity.
Right.
Because we don't want to,
Yeah.
So he does it for us. And I don't know how that all works out, but I think it's an interesting thought.
Yes, it is.
So,
yeah.
So that's a good one. You won't relent. That's a fantastic one. And do you know where it's at in Song of Songs?
Not off the top of my head.
It's either chapter 6, verse 8, or chapter 8, verse 6. It's one of those two. I can't remember.
I think it's chapter 8. That was...
I think it is.
Yeah, 8:6.
8:6, okay.
Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm, for love is as strong as death. That's another line of the song that's, your love is as strong as death, jealousy as fierce as the grave, like, especially, like, in the context of no greater love is this than a man lay down his life for his friends, right? Jesus went to the cross, like, that's... You want to know how strong his love is for you? Take a look over here. Take a look at the cross.
Right.
Like...
Yeah, and when it says jealousy as strong as the grave, that word is Sheol.
Yeah.
His jealousy is as strong as Hades.
Yeah.
Strong as hell.
Man, this is completely off the rails now. Completely off topic. When I was running today, I was listening to a podcast, and it was a guy... I don't even remember the dude's name. He wrote a book on hell recently, but he was talking about he was talking about Sheol, because he was like, isn't it crazy? Like, nobody talks about this. I think we may have mentioned it in our hell story or our hell episodes, but we didn't like hammer it, or at least it's been several weeks since we done those. I don't remember, but he talked about how in the King James Bible, how the same word is used, Sheol, but when it's talked about in a neutral or positive even manner, it's translated as grave.
Yeah.
But when it sounds
the pit sometimes.
but when it sounds bad, it's translated as hell. It's literally the same word, but it's just translated different ways depending on the context. Like whenever
we know what this one means.
Yeah, whenever Samuel is called up from the grave, right? The word is Sheol, and it just says from the pit or from the grave or whatever. Like the King James translation says, the grave. Yeah, it's Sheol. It's literally the same word that's translated as hell in other places.
Right. Be consistent.
And his complaint is, why are you disrupting my rest from Sheol, from hell? Like, oh, I'm down here chilling in hell. How dare you bring me back up?
Yeah. It's a very good point. If Sheol is supposed to be hell, then
right. Which I think the point is that it's not.
Right. Exactly. So yeah.
But anyway, it's completely off topic, but I just had to throw that one out there.
No, it's good. I dig it.
Anyway, that's You Won't Relent was the last song that I had written down here. Actually, I have no songs written down. That was the last one I had written on my heart. The tables of my heart.
There's a couple that I wanted to make mention of. Just real briefly, I want to talk about a song called Never Lost by Maverick City and Tribal. And that one, basically, it's just like there was like one line I think that I wanted to say something about. It was...
I handed Sean my phone, and he squinted at it like an old man who could not see.
It's because I am an old man and I do have cataracts, and I can't see very well. Sometimes I can see better with my glasses off, which is a real sign of old. So the the line that I wanted to mention was it says, "Wind, listen to the sound of the power on my lips. Jesus has broken the curse. He has never lost a battle, and he never will." And then anyone who's heard the song knows that we say he never will about 8,000 times.
He
Right.
never will.
He never will. He never will. He never will.
And that's
He
why
never will. He never will.
and that's why I've not been invited to sing in the church band.
He never will. He never will. So we say it over and over and over and over and over
Again.
and over, right? That he never will lose a battle. What's that mean?
Think about that. Think about that for a minute.
Right? Because and I mean, I understand. I understand that there are other ways to conceive of that, but from given our perspective, the ultimate redemption, the ultimate redemption perspective that we hold to, we believe that in that battle, even if that battle is a battle of his love against your stubborn will,
Right.
he will win that battle.
Yeah. I mean, that's the main thing. Like when it comes to this whole ultimate redemption thing, that's where my mind, that's the one thing that my mind keeps going back to recently. For whatever reason, that's been on my mind a lot in the last week or two, is because the one argument that everybody wants to push back against it with is free will, free will, free will, free will. But I don't care about free will, because if you're saying, if we're all acknowledging, as the scriptures say, that God's will is for all to be saved, but you're saying that there is even one single person that won't be because of their free will, then what you're saying is that their will is stronger than God's will. And what we're saying is that if you listen to the words of these songs and you actually believe what you're saying,
Yeah.
his love is relentless. His
Right.
love is overwhelming. He's
Yeah.
never lost a battle and never will. There's only one road that leads you down.
Yeah. I mean, I think so.
I mean, that's why, I know you said that there's multiple ways that you could conceptualize that line, and I guess there is, but I don't know. I can't understand how you can hold to a idea that not every person will be redeemed and truly believe that that is undefeated.
Yeah.
Because if even one soul is lost, that's 6 billion in one loss. 6 billion wins in one loss. That's not undefeated.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been involved in sports literally their entire life, pretty well versed on them. I know that's a loss. I know a loss when I see one.
Yeah. One other line that I want to make mention of from this particular song before we move on to the last one, or probably the last one, unless we want to do some more that we have. The lyrics are challenging for us.
Don't forget Down with the Sickness.
Ooh. So there's a song, another line in this song, Never Lost. It says, "Christ Redeemer, we remember, he has won the war." Past tense. It's finished. He has won the war. Jesus, mighty overcomer, our defender has conquered. So for me, we're going to get into atonement theories, right?
Oh yeah.
At some point, we definitely will. But I think the most consistent, especially in the early church, view of atonement is Christus Victor. That Christ's work on the cross is a total victory over Satan, sin, and death. And so I love those words here. Christ Redeemer, which we're saying he's Redeemer.
Right?
Who's he redeeming? We remember he has past tense already won the war. He's a mighty overcomer, and he's our defender who has conquered death and Hades, right. Sheol, the grave,
whatever word,
on our behalf, right? I love that line of the song, so I wanted to make mention of that one.
Well, that one really stands out to me too, because so in our Bible study, our Wednesday night study, we just started, since we finished the read through in a year, we started back in Matthew. We did 1 through 4, and I did my study on Matthew 4, which was the temptations, Jesus's temptation in the wilderness. And I guess I never realized, but this time when I went through and looked, I saw how it contrasted with the story of the Exodus, right?
Yeah.
Starting with Jesus and Joseph and Mary fleeing to Egypt and then being called out of Egypt, just like the children of Israel were. And then right after that, the children of Israel go through the parting of the Red Sea, which then Jesus' next part after coming out of Egypt is the baptism. So he's coming out of the water.
Yeah.
And then the very next thing is the children of Israel wander in the wilderness for 40 years, and Jesus wanders out there for 40 days being tempted. And the same temptations that Jesus went through match up to the ones that the children of Israel went through, right?
Yeah.
So the first one was bread, which was Exodus 16, the children of Israel complaining about bread and getting the manna. The next one was Exodus 17, was tempting God, and then the next one was, I think, Exodus 23, which was not bowing down to the idols and gods of the land that they were coming into, right?
Yeah.
To contrast to Jesus bowing down to Satan for the kingdoms of the world. But anyway, the whole point, the reason why I bring all that up was just to say that, like, what I got out of the study was, in every step of the way, the children of Israel faced temptation and they failed.
Yeah.
However, Jesus faced those same temptations and didn't, to the point he's already won the battle. Like, those temptations have already been destroyed, and it's been proven that we are going to, if you're relying on your own strength, we're the children of Israel in the story. Like, we are going to fail.
Yeah.
But he's already overcome, and so it's embedded right there in Scripture.
Yeah.
This line that you just read, it's embedded in the Scripture.
Right. Well, when God makes the covenant with Abraham, he makes the covenant with himself because he knew that we would not be able to.
Right.
So it's always been on him. So there's one more song that I want to do, So Will I. And this one is my favorite song that we do, and it's apparently your least. I don't even remember what I said I was going to push whenever you did that. We'll go with that one. I like that one. The song is So Will I. And I won't, I want to read the whole thing, but I won't, just because the whole thing is so good. But I do think it's interesting that the authors of this song chose to make mention of evolution. I thought that was an interesting choice, a bold move, perhaps.
Bold strategy, Cotton.
Let's see how it works out for him. Because it says, where does it say it at? As you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you said. And right before this, it says, once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. So, like, I just think that's an interesting choice. It's another one of those examples of, I have been side by side with someone that I know does not believe in evolution singing these words. I'm just like, do you know what you're singing? Because the way I take this is that all science can do is prove what God has already said. So if God chose to create through a process of evolution, then
Spoiler alert, he did.
then like there's all humans can do through the process of science is prove that.
Right.
You know? Which I think that actually there's there's tons of evidence for it. And I'm pretty sure, I haven't looked into it for a while, but I'm pretty sure there's a specific theory of evolution that is the structuralist model, I'm pretty sure is what it's called. Basically, it's like there is randomness, but what appears to be randomness in the evolutionary process, but there are laws, there's limitations, something or someone, right, does seem to be guiding the process, even though it appears to be random, is basically what this is saying. And so I think that sounds like a perfect example of God, right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's the code writer. In the world of video games, those are called calls.
Yeah.
CAW, create a wrestler. That's in the WWE universe. For those of you WWE video game fans, create a wrestlers.
So I just wanted to make mention of that one really quick, just because it's like, it is something that I always think is interesting to hear people singing when I'm like, I don't know if you believe that or not, but
sometimes I'm going to be to completely straight up honest with you. Sometimes are you having a seizure?
I think that stinking bug that's been flying around in here, I'm pretty sure it just landed on my neck and I just killed it.
They don't bite.
Is it a stink bug though?
They stink. They're everywhere. I don't know. It is literally 12 degrees outside.
So anyway, I'm going to need you to open up your phone again.
Oh, no.
Good thing I can edit all this out, hopefully.
But now what I was saying was, to be honest, I forget completely that there are people who are still like evolution.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it's to me, it's almost like a flat earth thing. It's like people don't really still think that, do they?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. And honestly, I don't really bother myself with it too much. I'm just like, however God chose to create, I think he created everything. So through Christ. So whatever that means.
It's not something that I've looked into in a long time, because it's just, to your point, it's whatever.
Because there are like, I mean, I have heard young earth creationists making, trying to make a case from science and things like that. And I don't know, whatever. I don't care.
I went to the Creation Museum one time.
Yeah. Cool story, bro. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, wait, at least we can edit it out.
Bro locked up my phone trying to get in.
I hope you never use headphones, because I'm really enjoying the fact that I can hear these sound effects and you have no idea what's going on. What even is this one? Oh yeah. Hey. What?
Don't let it lock up this time.
Okay. I'll just keep moving my finger on it. Well, I'm trying to talk too. So anyway, all right. So will I.
Yep.
So my favorite part of the song is towards the end of it. I mean, the whole song is good, but the end says this: God of salvation, you chased down my heart through all of my failure and pride. And man, that one hits me hard every time I hear it. He chased down my heart through all of my failure and my pride. Because I know that through that process of deconstruction, I spent a lot of time in what I would call failure and pride.
Yeah.
You can, because I traded one ditch for another, I feel like, because I went from having so much certainty and pride and having all the right doctrines and right beliefs into having a lot of pride and certainty that everyone else was wrong and I was more enlightened than everyone else, right?
Yeah. I think that's one of the dangers of the whole situation is that it's the whole opposite but equal reaction is applicable in all areas, right? So like if you're coming out of a faith that so prides itself on having all the right answers, then when you come out of that faith, you're just going to go the opposite and equal, but the opposite direction. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, the if pride is on one hand a big issue, it's going to be an issue on the other hand too.
Right. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that one really quick, but even through all of that, he chased down my heart. On a hill you created, the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. And I want to come back to that one. Actually, let's do it right now.
Do it.
This is the only portion of the song that irks me a little. Because it says abandoned in darkness to die, which sounds, it doesn't have to, but it when I hear it, it sounds like penal substitution.
Yeah, it's another one of those triggers.
Yeah. Even though there's other ways to take it, you could take it as like we abandoned humanity, or the disciples abandoned him, right? But I don't know whether the songwriters had penal substitutionary atonement theory in their minds when they wrote it or not. But that is a way that someone, it just kind of irks me to know that someone in the crowd might be singing it and thinking, yeah, the Father abandoned the Son. Yeah, he was abandoned.
Right.
But he did it for me. Like, even though there is something right and beautiful and true about that, right? That like he did it for us. That no matter what happened at the cross, he did it for us, and it was tragic and horrific.
Right.
Right. But he did it for us. Like, there obviously that creates in you a sense of gratitude and love, because he first loved us,
Right.
But but abandonment doesn't have to be part of that. Right. It's beautiful regardless of whether the Father abandoned the Son, which we know he didn't scripturally.
Right.
We can show that, and we will at some point. I think in our atonement, we're going to talk about the atonement at some point. Point is, right now, when I hear that, it does irk me a little bit, because I just want to when I hear that line, I always want to yell out, but it was us. It wasn't God the Father.
Right.
Right.
But that's one of those things, I was thinking about it when you were talking about it, where, because you had mentioned that you hate to think that somebody in the crowd that's listening to it or singing it has that conception in their mind. And on one hand, you're like, as long as they're getting a reaction from it, who cares?
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
But then it just leads to such, it goes back to kind of what we're talking about. If you follow the logic of what you're saying all the way through, that leads to such nasty stuff that you're like, on one hand, you don't care, because if somebody's having a positive experience, then let them have it. Even, but then on the other hand, it's just, the road becomes pretty gross if you follow it down long enough. So,
yeah, well, I think it does. I mean, I don't know how much I want to say about it, just because I know that we're going to do an entire episode on it, but I think it's a heresy personally.
Yeah, I do too, but
I think it's blasphemous. But
well, I've already talked on here before about my uneasiness with the whole way that we frame the Trinity, just because I'm not because I don't think it's true or real, but because I believe it's been used in a way to separate the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit that I'm not comfortable with. So,
well, here's the thing, though. The actual Orthodox teaching of the Trinity doesn't allow for penal substitutionary atonement theory, even though it's been misunderstood and used that way. To create that sort of separation goes against the Orthodox teaching of Trinity, actually. But, again, we're gonna get into all that at
it's
some
like
point.
a too sidetracked.
So I'm going to keep going because the end of this is what I love, and everyone knows it's coming. And you know what? If you're tired of all the Universalist talk, sorry, you're going to get some more.
Boom.
Because here it is. Oh, yeah, I forgot to post that. That's weird. It cut out on me. I don't like that. Anyway, and as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. When you lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've done, every part designed in a work of art called love. If you gladly chose surrender, so will I. I can see your heart 8 billion different ways. 8 billion is roughly the Earth's population. Right. I can see your heart. I can see your heart 8 billion different ways. I can see the image of you, the image of Christ in everyone.
But what about the Muslims? Or the atheists, or the Scientologists?
Well, they're created in the image of God as well.
No way.
I can see your heart 8 billion different ways. I'm going to lose it. Every precious one. 8 billion of them, to be exact. Roughly. I mean, that number's growing all the time, right?
Right.
8 billion precious ones. A child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them, so will I. Man, that's so good, right?
Doesn't that bring it back to what we were talking about at the very beginning before we even got into these songs, right?
Yep.
Like, that's real.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you would again. Like he would what? Give his life to love them 100 billion times. He would do it again 100 billion times. But even that, it says, but what measure could amount to your desire? So even 100 billion times would not satisfy. He would do it. There's no measure.
Right.
There's no number we could attach to it that would amount to his desire. It says, you're the one who never leaves the one behind.
There's that one again.
He's the one who never leaves one behind. And you know what? I don't think this is by accident. The way that we normally sing this song, we repeat that. So here's what it sounds like. This is how I hear it. You're the one who never leaves the one behind, like you would again, 100 billion times. Like he would. There's no measure that could amount to it. There's no measure that could amount to his desire to never leave even one behind. I think it adds that extra level of ultimate redemption. Something's happening. Something's happening with our mixer, and it's about to make me mad. Brand new. It's being a jerk. And you know what? It totally ruined my vibe. I was getting all emotional. I was feeling it, and the mixer is bringing me down. What a jerk.
It is a jerk. But you know what? It's his first day on the job. Take it easy on it.
I shan't. I shan't take it easy on it.
It's his first day. Don't know what it's doing. It's just getting acclimated.
Just newborn baby.
Yeah, doesn't even know what shapes and colors.
So yeah, man, that's actually the last one I guess I wanted to talk about. Man, I just love that song so much, and again, all of the lyrics are good, but that last section really gets me, because he is the one who never leaves the one behind, and there is no measure that could amount to his desire to save everyone, even the very last one, who might be whoever,
Right?
whoever the last one is. Yeah,
Probably me. I'll be the last one.
I doubt it. I'm thinking probably Hitler's in that list somewhere, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Paul said he was the chief sinner, so
That's true. And look what happened to him. Look at the transformation that happened in his life.
Was there is there even a greater spokesperson for ultimate redemption than that?
Nope. Also, if you look at his experience of coming to Christ, don't seem like a lot of free will was involved in that. It seemed pretty like Jesus just kind of showed up and blinded him and was like, "Hey, man, why are you doing this? Why are you killing all these people?
I guess he could have went the Jonah route, but
Why are you persecuting me?"
I guess he could have went the Jonah route, but we seen how that turned out last week. So
Yeah. So yeah, man, I think that's all the songs that I have. I mean, unless there's some that you want to talk about from like ones that are triggering to you, or other ones that you want to talk about that you think are cool.
no, I mean we don't have to get into any specific examples because I know we've been going for a while and people are probably getting bored of us at this point. But
Also, my phone might die.
that's true too.
So
I guess for me, there's that phrase again. The for me.
For me,
I keep saying that. You're gonna have to bleep me out on those too.
oh okay.
But no, the only one that stands out to me, the one topic that stands out to me as far as like kind of gets, I don't know how's even the proper word to say it. Yeah, icky. Maybe that's right. Because I almost said gets under my skin, and I don't even want to say that about it, but like, especially because it is something that I respect in its own way, but my relationship with it has changed so different from where it was. But it's any song that like really emphasizes, like the one song that comes to my mind is Nothing But the Blood. Any song that's all the talk about the blood kind of is, I don't know. I find it hard to get into, quote unquote, those kind of songs just because I guess it's one of those triggering things, right? Because when I think about the blood of Jesus shed and the way that it's always been framed to me, it's always been framed to me in that penal substitution way, to where when I hear about the blood, I think of that immediately what it triggers in my mind, right? I think about that blood as a payment for my sin. And it just, I don't know, like, even though the blood is still something that I hold in high regard, obviously.
Right.
But just not in that kind of way to where, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to put into words what I'm trying to get across, I guess, but it's just.
I know what you mean. I actually didn't grow up with penal substitution.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna get into that in the atonement episode. But I didn't really have that, like, an atonement theory. I didn't even know those were words that went together, like.
It's one of those things, and I know I've mentioned it before, but it's one of those things to where it was so ingrained within me as a child that even today, I have a hard time seeing it any other way.
Yeah.
Which causes a lot of problems because the PSA atonement theory does not at all jive with who I know God to be.
Right.
So then I'm stuck in this weird position of like, I find it extremely hard to see it any other way, but I also know that the one way that I am able to see it isn't right.
Yeah.
So it puts me in this, so like, that's one of those things that I struggle with a lot. But point being, anything that triggers the penal substitution atonement image in my mind, kind of triggers me. So any kind of song, and the reason why I bring up that song in particular is because that used to be one of my favorite songs, and like it reminds me of my childhood. Like, probably reminds anybody that grew up in church. That's like a classic church song, classic church hymn. But
See, the way that we did it at our church was always, I think, is a little different. So I don't even know if it's the same words. Like, I'm trying to go over the words right now in my head. Oh, precious is that flow. Is that the one?
Yeah. Well, it's
That
in
makes me
particular,
white as
it's
snow.
what can wash away my sins.
Nothing but the blood of
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I could see where it would be triggering. It doesn't really trigger. It's not really triggering for me personally. But I mean, I do think, like, you know, the life is in the blood. Like, you know,
Mhm.
that the blood is the life flowing through our veins, right? You know, so like what that is pointing to me is like his life.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's why I tried to phrase it in a way.
shedding of blood is giving up his life. You know,
I tried to phrase it in a way that kind of indicated that, like, I'm not trying to say that it's bad, it's a bad song, or it's wrong, or anything like that, so
Right.
much as, like, just for me personally, it kind of, I guess trigger is probably the right word, even though it's like a buzzword, but
right.
it's probably the right word to use. But, like, as far as, like, if we're talking about being a worship service, that's those kind of songs don't put me in a worship frame of mind, because it triggers those things within me, even though for other people they might be totally fine. And it's so that's why I try to I tried to phrase it in a way to where I wasn't trying to say it's wrong or we shouldn't be singing these songs or blah blah blah.
Right.
I'm saying, for me personally, something I struggle with.
Yeah.
And again, the only other thing I really struggle with is just my own brain, all right, getting out of my own way. Like, one of the things that we're talking about today, analyzing and really thinking through the words that you're saying, like, I do it to an extent to makes it almost to where it's like I'm in my own way. Like, I can't, it's hard to even, like, I assume that most people listening to this or at this point are people that we know and know, you know, we attend church with or whatever. So they know what I mean when I say, like, but worship, you know, our worship experiences, it's about something moving within you. You know what I mean? But
Right.
like, you have to almost be able to transcend your mind to go to that place. But so, like, if your mind is constantly like thinking through things, then you really don't ever transcend your mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's one of the struggles that I have, is that maybe I think about the words too much.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Sometimes the words create worship in me, though.
Yeah.
You know, I guess it just depends.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I know what you mean, because kind of as I explained with the reckless love, that like that's how it worked for me too. It's just that a lot of times you know, I struggle to get through my own mind.
Right.
Or as I say it, get out of my own way.
Yeah. I just killed a stink bug, and it stinks in here now.
Well, there's a lot of poopy diapers in here, so
I don't think it's that.
They are contained.
Well, are we done now?
I guess. No, that's
Is there anything else you wanted to say about it?
Nah, I'm good. Good.
Yeah. I'm not trying to rush us, but I am afraid that my phone is going to die. Because it made a sound a minute ago that's usually the, like, hey, we're about to go here, pal. Your battery's about to die.
Nah, well, we've probably used up all of our audience's patience at this point anyway, so.
Yeah. This episode is going to be, you know what? It's just like the Jonah one, because I was thinking today, I was like, man, this one might be a dud. Like, I don't know that we're going to have much to say. Like, it's going to be awkward, but we've got over 2 hours worth.
You act like we haven't been having these conversations for decades.
True. Yeah.
We don't need to research. I mean, it always helps to organize and research, but
I just like to be prepared.
Me and you can sit down and have a conversation about pretty well anything.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
well then, are we ready to sign off?
Yeah, man.
Should we give ourselves a round of applause for it?
And the crowd goes wild.
I'm having too much fun with these sound pads.
Yes, you are.
Too much fun.
Well, that's all, folks.